I think I got it. I'm gonna start doing lives. All right, cool. What the fuck? This is how you do it. Okay, got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Mm, mm. Peace for those that are watching. We're going to be starting momentarily in about 7 minutes. Okay, just stay tuned. We got a good audio clip for you. Some video footage to go with that too as well. And we might just do a Q&A later on. Tune in. This is Private Administration Tutorials. Executor Creek Running Water. Stay tuned.
Are we ready to proceed? Yes, sir. Okay, if I can have the defendant sworn.
Sure, Judge. Raise your right hand, other hand. Do you swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, if I can have the defendant sworn.
Sure, Judge. Raise your right hand, the other hand. Do you swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, I'll need the old information. I want the defendant to be aware of what he was originally facing and what the new information. This is the new information.
I didn't give it to you? Oh,
I have
one second.
All right. Okay, can you tell me your full name and date of birth?
Michael Eugene Note Jr., August 10th, 1983.
All right, thank you. You were originally charged under case number F21-14438 with the following charges: lewd and lascivious molestation on a child, a second-degree felony, punishable by up to 15 years state prison. Count 2 was lewd and lascivious molestation on a child, 12 to 16 years, a second-degree felony, punishable by up to 15 years state prison. Lewd and lascivious conduct on a child under 16 by a defendant 18 or over, a second-degree felony, punishable by up to 15 years state prison. Count 4, lewd and lascivious exhibition on a child under 16 years, defendant over 18, a second-degree felony, punishable by up to 15 years state prison. And contributing to the dependency of a child, a first-degree misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year in jail. And then count 6 is interference with custody, a third-degree felony, punishable by up to 5 years state prison. The state has now filed an amended information today, charging you with the following: aggravated child abuse, great bodily harm, a first-degree felony, punishable by up to 30 years state prison. Count 2 is aggravated child abuse, great bodily harm, a first-degree felony, punishable by up to 30 years state prison. And contributing to the dependency of a child, a first-degree misdemeanor, punishable by up to 1 year in jail. It is my understanding that you wish to plead guilty to this new information. You would be adjudicated guilty, and your sentence has been memorialized in a 4-page plea agreement. Did you have the opportunity to go over this plea agreement with your lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. I do need the defendant to initial each page because there are not initials on these pages. Okay. Let me know when it's done. Yes, sir. Now, it is my understanding, Mr. Nowak, that you have gone over this plea agreement with your lawyer, and I want to go over it with you, not each and every aspect of it, but the major components of the plea agreement. But what I am going to ask is for the state to tell me the general terms of the plea agreement, and then we will go into the details on the contract. Go ahead.
Your Honor, the plea agreement includes an adjudication, 7 years of state prison, followed by 10 years of reporting probation. As a condition of probation, the defendant will—
What did you say, 10 years probation?
10 years reporting probation.
Okay.
The defendant will complete the MDSO program. The defendant will not be allowed to have unsupervised contact with children. The defendant will have specific terms regarding where he may work and the ability to wear a uniform. There are additional terms of restitution, of which $5,000 has been agreed to be paid upfront within 24 hours, mailed to the to the victim, and additional restitution to be paid out on a monthly basis once he is out of custody. And that monthly amount is highlighted in the written terms of the plea agreement. Additionally, there will be a stay-away order from victim TS and her mother, which is also mentioned in the plea agreement.
What is the total amount of the restitution?
The total amount of restitution is $25,000.
Okay. All right.
Your Honor, the defendant's counsel going to be providing probation with the proof of the $5,000 being paid?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Okay, so Mr. Nowak, the terms of the plea agreement are as what the prosecutor just stated, that you are going to be entering a plea of guilty to the 2 counts of aggravated child abuse and 1 count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor. You will be adjudicated guilty, which is a criminal conviction on your record. Do you also understand, sir, that by entering into this plea that it may subject you to involuntary civil commitment proceedings set forth in Florida statutes 394.910 through 394.931? Do you understand everything that I've said thus far?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I want to also advise you, sir, that you are going to be sentenced to 7 years in state prison, to be followed by 10 years of reporting probation. In addition to any of these special conditions of probation, you will also participate in and successfully complete a mentally disordered sex offender treatment program, that you are also not eligible. Okay, you may, according to the state, you may be eligible for early termination if all of the conditions of your probation have been completed, that you have had no violations of your probation, and that you have not been arrested for any other criminal offense. Is that correct, State?
And to clarify, the terms stated in 5 is there is no prohibition on early termination. However, there is a requirement that any modification to this agreement be agreed by the state and the court.
Okay. All right, sir. Now, with respect to this plea agreement, I have on each page next to defendant's initials MN. Did you in fact affix those initials to each page?
I did.
And have you reviewed each and every component of this plea agreement going through page 1 and through page 4?
I have.
Now it says on page 4, having read the above mentioned terms of this plea agreement and having been advised by my counsel, David Terrace, I, Michael Noak, freely and voluntarily enter into this plea agreement and agree to abide by all terms and conditions of this plea agreement, and agree that failure to comply with any terms or conditions within this agreement constitutes a violation of probation and subjects me to be sentenced to the statutory maximum penalties provided by law for the crimes for which I am now pleading guilty. And then it has a signature over the name Michael Noah. Is that in fact your signature, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I am now going to place my signature on this plea agreement, in that I am now going to be ratifying this plea agreement as negotiated between the state of Florida and your attorney. Has anybody, including your lawyer, told you anything differently than what I've just told you?
No.
Are you under the influence of any alcohol, drugs, or medication affecting your ability to understand me?
No.
Is anybody forcing, threatening, or coercing you to enter into this plea?
No.
Do you understand that if you're not a United States citizen, the entry of this plea will have negative immigration consequences, including deportation and removal?
Understand.
You had the right, sir, to have gone to a jury trial where your lawyer had the ability to compel the attendance of witnesses on your behalf, the ability to confront and cross-examine the witnesses and evidence against you. You had the right to testify just like any other witness, or remain silent, and your silence could not have been used against you if you went to a jury trial. You also had the right to appeal any mistakes that I would have made during the course of the trial, and the right to hold the state of Florida to the burden of proving these charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand, sir, that by entering into this plea, that you are giving up all of these rights and we will not have a jury trial?
I do.
Have you discussed this plea with your lawyer?
Yes.
Has he answered all of your questions?
Absolutely.
Are you satisfied with your lawyer's services and advice?
Definitely.
Did the state provide all the discovery in your possession to the defense?
Yes.
Did the defense review all of the discovery in your possession with your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do both sides know of any physical evidence containing DNA that would exonerate the defendant?
No.
No, Your Honor.
And do both sides stipulate to a factual basis for this plea?
Yes.
Defense stipulated.
And the court has reviewed the arrest affidavit, makes a finding that there is a factual basis for the plea. Mr. Noak, are there any witnesses or is there any evidence that you wanted your lawyer to investigate or me to receive before entering into this plea?
No.
All right. The court finds that the defendant understands the nature of the charges against him and the consequences of this plea, that he has been represented by competent and effective assistance of counsel with whom he says he is satisfied. I find the defendant has knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently waived his rights all statutory fines, court costs, and surcharges will be assessed. Counsel, do you waive PSI?
Yes, Your Honor, we waive PSI.
All right. Now, Mr. Noack, you do understand, as I mentioned to you before, that the state, as they had articulated earlier, you may be eligible for early termination as long as certain conditions are met. That means no violations. You've done everything that you were supposed to do. You've not been arrested for any criminal offense, and the state is in agreement with it as well as the court's ratification. On the other hand, sir, if you violate any terms and conditions of this probation, and that includes getting arrested for any other criminal offense, that you could be subject to the maximum period of time in prison, which by my calculations is 61 years state prison. You do understand that?
Yeah.
And knowing all of this, do you still wish to enter into this plea?
Yes.
All right. The court finds the defendant, as I mentioned before, understands the nature of the charges against him and the consequences of this plea, that he has been represented by competent and effective assistance of counsel with whom he says he is satisfied. I find the defendant has knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently waived his rights. All statutory fines, court costs, and surcharges will be assessed. Is there anything further as it relates to Mr. Noack? I do have on the Zoom that the victim's mother wanted to address the court.
Correct. And Your Honor, nothing more from the state except to let Your Honor know if you can unmute the victim's mother, and she will be listed as victim Noack in the Zoom, and she is requesting, pursuant to Marcy's law, that her identity remain anonymous. So for that reason, she will not be stating her name, but she will be making a statement regarding this case.
Where would it be?
It should say victim and then in parentheses Noack. Noak, sorry. You see it when it says victim Noak?
Okay, yes, 1 second. All right, you may unmute, ma'am.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. All right, so what I'd like you to do is, well, you don't want to give your name. So at this point, just go ahead and you can give us an impact statement. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Michael Noack. This is the first time I have spoken publicly about what you've done to my daughter and I. I have gracefully remained silent the last 2.5 years. 2.5 years of pain, shock, disbelief, PTSD, constant nightmares, and daily triggers. Trying to help my daughter heal when I'm not even healed myself. What you have done to my daughter, myself, and my entire family is inexcusable. You hurt us all. You made me believe that you were such a great man and you could do no wrong. You made me fully trust you, and for that, my daughter trusted you too. But the truth is, you're a monster, a demon. The very first time that I allowed you to be alone with my daughter, the very first time, and you couldn't even help yourself. You told me you was gonna be right back. You were going downstairs. You were gonna grab food and take vacation pictures. You told me that you wanted to have a one-on-one talk with her about loving and respecting me as a great mother that I was and am. And I actually believed you. I believed that you were going to bring her right back. I thought you were going to have this trusting conversation with her that you promised me. Her and I both trusted you. For a grown man to violate a child who trusted him, you should be ashamed of yourself. You plotted on me and my little girl. The entire time you knew what you planned to do. Isolate, intoxicate, then violate my baby. Shame on you. I trusted you to bring her right back. You were supposed to bring her back the same way that you took her. Instead, you drugged her and took advantage of her. And you sexually abused her. You forced alcohol down her throat. You then forced her to see things that no child should ever have to see. You forced her to feel things that no child should have to feel. You forced her to accept violence that no child should ever have to endure. You forced drugs in her that no human should ever even ingest. She's my child. My baby. How could you? How could you? You could have killed her with all the drugs that were found in her system. And you thought your master plan was mapped out perfectly, huh? You thought I'd be dumb enough to believe you over my child. And you thought that money would blind me. You thought I was going to be so blinded that I wouldn't notice when you returned her with bruises all over her body and her mouth busted, uncontrollably shaking. Absolutely not. And although you executed your plan and you got what you wanted those couple of hours, you actually failed. Because look where you're at right now. You have created a lifetime of trauma for my daughter and I. Before you, we never knew evil existed. You brought so much evil into our lives that early morning, and I'll never forget. I called you like 50 times and you wouldn't answer me. And I called her too, but you took her phone. You drugged my baby and you gave her no way to seek help. You left me no way to contact her, even know where she was. I get physically sick now whenever I'm away from my daughter because of you. Something as simple as her going to school, I'm in panic mode because I'm scared when she comes back, she's going to be hurt all over again. I constantly have flashbacks of that night. And what she lives with is not okay. She feels uncomfortable around people and will live with this forever. And this is not fair to her. She never deserved this. Shame on you for forcing evil on our youth. And you know, for a year, I questioned, how could you even do this to us? Her and I did nothing wrong to you. We trusted you. I moved across the country because I believed everything that you told me. But it was pure manipulation I see now. All you do is specialize in selling false dreams. How could you do this to an innocent child and mother who simply trusted you? We did nothing wrong. But you know what? I'm done breaking my head trying to question or figure out how you could do such a thing. It's so simple to me now. You're just a sick man. A man you can have a plethora of women, but you secretly prefer to have a child. And it's so clear now. I will never be able to fully trust another person due to the betrayal that you've shown me. And for that, I was not willing to trust 6 strangers and go to trial. Nor was I going to put my daughter through an additional trauma. This plea was in our best interest. You and I both know the evidence is extremely substantial. But even with that, I refuse to have my child be tormented when she's done nothing wrong. All she holds is the truth. And I will say this, although you were so worried about being labeled a sex offender, you did us a huge favor by admitting to guilt, period. So for that, I thank you. I truly thank you. Yes, mitigation took place and I allowed it as long as it meant you going to prison and you getting true help. Because true help means no more victims. The fact that your only non-negotiable was to accept a sex crime shows exactly the type of man that you are. You know what you did in that hotel room. I know what you did, and my daughter knows what you did. DNA doesn't lie. There's no reason why your DNA should have been found on my baby. And yes, I satisfied your bogus request to not be labeled a sex offender, but it doesn't take away from who you truly are. I wasn't going to waste any time going back and forth with you over a label. God will judge you for exactly the person he knows you to be, a sexual predator. So rest assured, jail time equals jail time. And I pray that during your 10 years of sex offender probation, you actually receive the treatment that you need, and it helps heal your sick mind and get the thoughts of being with children out of it. All you care about is your pretend image, but I know exactly who you are now. You want to be this public figure, but you want to do all your evil acts in secret. You're so self-centered. That's why the last time I saw you on February 27, 2021, you fought me. You tried to hold me hostage from taking my daughter to the hospital. I'll never forget that cowardly look in your eyes. I'll never forget it. You were so scared. You were so scared because you realized you messed with the wrong one. Your last words to me, you held me and said, please don't go. You're going to ruin my career. Well, today, September 6th, 2023, my last words to you are, I hope the next 17 years of your life, you're reminded of the disgusting, terrifying, unforgettable acts that you've done to my innocent daughter. Shame on you. And although you've caused a tremendous amount of trauma for myself and my daughter, we will and will always be superior of you, because a successful, honest career is something that you could never, ever have. We will both continue to stand against violence. My daughter will continue to persevere and be bright and intelligent and a courageous young woman that she is. So, Michael Nowak, I hope you enjoy prison, and God bless you.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your courage for speaking. It is heartbreaking, and my heart goes out to you and your daughter. All right. The defendant will be remanded to the Department of Corrections.
CPS.
He's given credit
CTS
for
on
any.
misdemeanor, Judge.
We can do CTS on the
Yes,
misdemeanor, yes. He's giving credit time, whatever he's gotten in.
CTS,
Yes. All right. Thank you.